there, I'm James Brayshaw, and I'm so glad you made it back here to the Imagine No Satan site to just talk a bit about who and what Satan is. Today I want to just point out one simple point that really begins to lead us in the direction of asking more questions, at least about if Satan is real or not. I contest in my 4-volume Imagine No Satan series that Satan is not real. He's been a fabricated entity that came through a lot of Persian influence from the 6th century BCE. And today I want to mention a very important story. Perhaps you're familiar with the story of David when he was instructed to not count the tribes of Israel, to determine a number. The Creator, God, Yahweh, whatever we're calling him right now for this point, doesn't really matter. The point is he was told by his boss not to number the tribes of Israel. Yet he went ahead and did it. And here's what actually is said in 1 Chronicles about that very story. It says, and Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel. Right there in 1 Chronicles 21 verse 1 is what we see happening to David because he counted the tribes of Israel against God's wishes. So it tells us there that Satan stood up and provoked him. That's interesting because we find here in this other passage that is the very mirror passage. What happened is the chronicler wrote a story chronicling a lot of the events and activities of the Israelite nation. But this was always also written down in 2 Samuel 24, verse 1. Remember, we just saw, and Satan provoked David. Here we find it written differently. And again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against David, and he moved David against them. So now, in this passage, it's the Lord who did it. How is it possible that in one passage, Satan is the one that's provoking David, and in another passage, it's God that's the one provoking David? Some will contend with this argument or this point and suggest that God is telling Satan to go provoke David. But the fact is, and we know that a sawtawn, is just an adversary. It's not a cosmic, supernatural, phenomenological entity that has the power to behave like God in many ways and inflict evil upon humans. Any adversarial force that opposes man, God, brings sickness, disease, pestilence, calamity, can be a Satan. And that's why we find God is Satan in this case. And I say that quite cheerfully because what that reveals then is that there's no real literal God who's in opposition to the great God and there to inflict harm, damage, destruction on you, me, and our loved ones. So, Satan's not real? Please learn more about this from the ImagineNoSatan.com website, or feel free to email me for a free copy of Volume 1 of the Imagine No Satan series, or you can also take a look at picking up that 4-volume set of the Imagine No Satan series when you got some time. Cheers to you now. Take good care. I'm James Brayshaw.